Hey lovely people, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Well, if you guys remember, I had prepared the tiramisu cheesecake for my birthday, and that was the unbaked version of the cheesecake. So today I have decided to prepare the baked cheesecake. It's the classic cheesecake, and I thought of giving it a try because I was just craving for something sweet, and my dad too wanted something really sweet. So I decided to go ahead with the cheesecake since I had some cream cheese remaining and the digestive biscuits remaining. So let's get started. So the very first step is to prepare the base, and for this you could just pop in some digestive biscuits into a Ziploc bag and crush it with the help of a rolling pin, or you could also use the blender in order to crush your digestive biscuits. And once that's done, you drizzle in some butter. Okay, the measurements have been mentioned in the description box for you guys to check it out. And also to this I've added a little bit of honey, all right, to just make it a little bit sweeter. Yeah, that's it about it for the base. And then you have to spread it evenly into the pan and use probably a spoon or a glass to flatten it all across the surface. Okay, so now for the baked cheesecake, you usually bake the base for about 10 to 12 minutes at 250 degrees. So what you get is a nice thick golden crust. But I decided to just refrigerate the base and let it set. Now you can do whatever you like, however you like your crust, whether you want a nice golden thick crust, so you can just bake it, or you can have the refrigerated crust where it is nice and soft. Okay, now let's look at the ingredients. We have some whipping cream here, some milky mist cream cheese, some yogurt, or you could also use sour cream. Then we have some corn flour, some vanilla essence, this is powdered sugar, and last but not the least, 4 eggs. Now in a big bowl, I'm gonna beat the cream cheese at a medium to low speed. Now this is the same cream cheese that I used for the tiramisu cheesecake, so I had a little bit remaining, so I used it all. So as I was beating the cream cheese, I added the powdered sugar and continued beating further in order the sugar to get well incorporated with the cream cheese. Next, I added whipping cream to the cream cheese mixture and continued beating until the whipping cream was well incorporated. Next, I added a few drops of vanilla essence and continued beating. Also make sure to scrape down the sides of the bowl and the bottom of the bowl. Next, you can add in your sour cream, and if you do not have sour cream, then you could just add yogurt to the mixture just like I did and continue beating. Next, I added some lemon zest to the mixture. Now what does lemon do is, since it is acidic in nature, it reacts to the fatty proteins and gives you that nice thick texture that you're looking for. Next, I added a tablespoon of cornstarch. Now what does cornstarch do? Using cornstarch in your cheesecake batter firms it up, giving it less of a chance to form cracks. Now that the batter is all ready, we are going to pour this batter into the baking tin and pop this in the oven. Take me to a place I'm calling for. Open up the doors I'm knocking on. Now before putting the batter into the oven, I preheated the oven for about 10 minutes at 160 degrees. Also, do not forget to keep a pan of boiling hot water under your cheesecake, because the steam from this helps your cheesecake to remain moist. And I'm losing my mind for the days, 'cause you and I will never fade. Well, since it was my first time doing a baked cheesecake, I was really worried to overbake it or underbake it. So I'm going to tell you what I experienced or the lessons that I learned. So now, because a cheesecake is a custard, it won't completely be firm when done. Now the mistake that I did was I used the tallest rack, and as a result, the heat from the top, kind of burnt my cheesecake top. It wasn't actually burnt, I could say, because it was still that jiggly, wiggly. So when I noticed that, at once I lowered the cheesecake. But what I did was I took out the water bath, and I guess this made the cheesecake crack, or probably it was a bit overdone, but it didn't seem so because it was like still that wiggly jiggly. So I guess I should have used the less height rack and still keep the water bath. But the center was really done well when I checked it. So something I would like to improve on the next time I try to make a baked cheesecake. A common mistake when cooling your cheesecake is to attempt to cool it too quickly. Now if you have a conventional oven, you can turn off the heat, open the door and allow it to cool for an hour inside the oven before moving it to a cooling rack to cool completely. But a gas oven might overcook it, so you'll want to move it to the cooling rack immediately. Now secondly, once your cake pan is no longer hot to touch, cover it and move it to the refrigerator to chill overnight in its springform pan. So you must wait overnight until it's chilled before running a knife along the edges between the crust and the side of the pan, and then gently unbuckle the pan. Okay, now what I noticed with my cheesecake was that the edges had stuck to the springform pan. This was because, you know, I did not have the crust all over the edges. So the custody cheesecake had kind of like, you know, stuck to the edges, but it wasn't like undercooked or something. It was perfectly done actually. Okay, so this is what I learned from my cheesecake, was that you need to have the crust running along the edges, unlike the unbaked version. But overall it was a good cheesecake. It came off very easily from the springform pan. It just had that little bit of cheesecake on the knife. But yeah, I was really happy the way it came off. And yeah, there were a few lessons that I learned, and I'm definitely going to keep it in mind while baking the next cheesecake. Time for some real tasting, guys. Now, in order to taste the cheesecake, I cut out slice and garnished it with this raspberry compote that was sent by my Aunt Rosie all the way from UK. I must say that the raspberry and cheesecake is a pretty good combination. But if you guys do not have raspberry compote with you, don't worry. You can still use any fresh fruits like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and so on. I also added these sliced black grapes to make it look a little over the top. But this recipe is a must try, guys. Do check out the description box for the detailed recipe, and do try it out, and do not forget to comment down below.